Hello, it's me again, here with a little update for the MBTA Commuter Rail Speedrun video. So, the question on everyone's mind, and I hinted at it in the video anyway, so it's probably not a huge surprise, but I did get the record. There it is. I'll put a much better photo in post so you don't have to watch it through my laptop webcam, because that's what I'm recording on. Thank you very much. Yeah, there it is. Look at it. It's beauty. It's grace. Anyway, so I got the record. I am now officially a Guinness World Record holder. So in this little update video, I just wanted to share with you kind of the process of submitting all the evidence to Guinness, kind of what I had to write, add, how that all went, and kind of the timeline that it took to actually get this record. And then also kind of future speedruns that I might do for transit. So let's get into it. I think one of the hardest parts of this entire speedrun, and something that I didn't document in the original video that well, was how much evidence you need to collect to get one of these records. So in addition to, as I mentioned in the video, that photos and videos be taken, there was a lot of other stuff that I had to do and a lot of little technicalities to get all the evidence submitted to them. So first off, photos had to be geotagged. That makes sense. You can't always see the station signage, and that seemed to work pretty well for Guinness. There was one station stop porter where I the photo wasn't geotagged because my phone didn't have GPS reception because it's kind of underground a little bit. But in that case, just again to make sure that I'm going to get this record, you can see the departure board for the other track in the photo. I'll put the porter photo station on screen right now. So you can see that there's trains listed, and what I did was I sent them a photo of the Fitchburg line schedule for when I did the attempt, and you can see how the times on the schedule match up with the times on the departure board, and they seemed to accept that evidence. In terms of video evidence, the full speedrun had 5 hours of full video evidence. That's a lot of video. I didn't submit that all to Guinness, but what I did was I submitted videos where I was getting onto the train and getting off the train, and doing any transfers on public transportation. So when I did the north to south station transfer on day one, I also included videos of me doing that. They seem to be okay with it. I think the rule of having to film the entire record attempt is more for smaller records and not 40-hour-long record attempts. So hopefully they can clarify that in their rules at some point, that you only have to film the important parts of it. Additionally, there are the witness statements along with the timekeeper statement. So at the start and the end of the attempt, there was a witness, different one at the start and the end. So they both had to fill out a form that Guinness was provided a template for, and I used, and they seemed to accept it, just kind of stating the time and where they were when they witnessed it and how they witnessed it, and just signing off on it, basically saying, I have nothing to gain from manipulating this record attempt, which this is a commuter rail speedrun. No one has anything to gain other than oh cool, I did it. And then also the timekeeper. Basically the timekeeper was at the start and then had an iPhone that I just was I have a bunch of phones in my drawer. I'm a software developer, so I just got on an iPhone stopwatch app. Off we go, and took a screenshot of it at the end, and along with a photo of the actual phone with a stopwatch on it. And then also had to sign the timekeeper statement, the person who did that, along with just signing and saying, same thing. That I'm not being paid to influence the result or whatever. I get nothing out of this. So all 3 statements, and that's kind of what you need for a Guinness World Record. You need 2 people at the start and the end. 1 person needs to come through the entire journey, and that's actually why if you look at my phone, the stopwatch, it actually is a little off. My final phone stopwatch, and I still have it on my phone, funny enough, is 40 hours. That was the time that I got on my stopwatch, but the official time is 3 seconds longer. So that's because my friend who was doing the timekeeping started it 3 seconds later. Earlier than I did when this train started moving. So that's how that worked out. Along with that, there's also a signature log. So Guinness basically kind of says you should get the signatures of witnesses who are witnessing the speedrun attempt. So in that case, I went up and asked conductors on the train to sign it. So basically, before the record attempt, I had an iPad and I filled it out with a table of train, date, the train number, your name and signature. And so I got about a half a dozen conductors' signatures, and Guinness accepted that evidence. It's a lot of evidence. And then finally, they wanted the tickets that I used, so I sent them screenshots of my 2 used Zone 10 Flex passes, and then the paper ticket from when I went on Gatra over by Kingston Plymouth Station. So And then at the end of all this, they wanted a cover letter that kind of just explains all the evidence and why I did the record attempt and everything. And so I used page 1 of their template, and then I also wrote a very, very long addendum that explains all the evidence and kind of why the run was doing as it did, and just hoping to kind of not leave any stone unturned when they reviewed the record attempt, because correspondence between me and Guinness every time they reply to you takes about a month and a half, except if you pay them more, because they're a for-profit company. So, okay, very cool. So once I got all that compiled, I started to upload it to Guinness, and then their servers crashed, and their UI is pretty terrible. So what happens is if you submit your evidence, and they don't even let you confirm it, they're just like, all right, submitted. You can't go back and add more evidence. So their servers were having problems, and then I hit submit by accident, and I was like, oh wait, it's not all uploaded. So I had to write to them, hey, I didn't submit all the evidence. And then a month later they came back and said, all right, we unlocked it again. And then the new uploader was worse than the old uploader for some reason, so it took hours to get all my evidence online, of retrying and finally, until it sometimes took like 4 times for a file to stick. But what I did then was I zipped up my GPX files, because I didn't want to deal with all the errors, and there were a lot of GPX files. That's another part of the evidence I just forgot. If you remember from the speedrun video, the Android phone that had the map on it, that was also running as a GPS tracker, which got a decent amount of the speedrun. It didn't get all of it, but towards the end, it got most of the speedrun. I realized I had to keep the screen on or something. So they wanted the GPX traces as well, and I was happy to provide them, and I think the collection of everything seemed to help validate that I wasn't bluffing, and I actually did visit every station on the commuter rail. So yeah, with that, they couldn't open the zip file on their GPX files, so I re-upload all the files again individually, and then they come back in November saying, your record is under review. And then in mid-December, I got an email at 4 a.m. saying that I was a Guinness World Record holder. So the whole process, from start to finish, took 7 months. It was nothing wrong with my evidence. It was just their website broke, and they couldn't open a zip file. Okay. So it was a bit of a pain, but I did it eventually, and got this. Then there's a website that you can buy your record plaque from, and they ship it to you from the UK. So it took a week or 2 to get out here to the States. But yeah, so I did it. I now hold this record for the MBTA Commuter Rail network, and I guess permanently for the network pre-South Coast Rail, since South Coast Rail is opening in a month's time, and I don't know if anyone else is going to try to do this in the month, and the new schedules make it a lot harder to do so. So I think this record's basically unbeatable until South Coast Rail. Speaking of South Coast Rail, some people have asked, are you going to do this commuter rail record with South Coast Rail? And the answer is yes, I will do it. I don't know when. I need to mentally prepare to be on trains for 3 days, because schedule changes did occur between my record attempt and now. Namely, South Attleboro opened 2 morning and afternoon trains, but only in the peak direction. So that makes things a little harder. Wickford Junction has reduced service. So, for instance, the train that I took out to Wickford Junction for the last train in the attempt no longer goes to Wickford Junction. It stops at Providence. So, thanks, MBTA. Very cool. And then finally, Silver Hill on the Fitchburg line reopened to peak trains, peak direction trains. So that also makes it a little harder to do the Fitchburg line. So there's that. And just some other timing changes that might affect how the run kind of goes. So already that makes it a little bit of a slower run, because especially when you do the Wickford line, you kind of have to go to Wickford, and then only trains that go from there, then they run express, you got to get on a local, and then it's going to take longer, and then same with Fitchburg, you got to time it just right to actually hit the local train. And so probably what's going to end up happening is this will be a 3-day speed run, is what I'm predicting. I need to look at the PDF schedules when they come out, when South Coast Rail actually starts running in about a month's time. And then what I'll probably have to do is contact Guinness to tell them to make a new record for the commuter rail post South Coast Rail, or with South Coast Rail included, and then go ahead and run it. So I don't know when that's going to happen. Probably, I'm honestly thinking sometime in 2026. So it's probably going to be a while until a South Coast Rail record appears, or an attempt from me at least. But in the meantime, I have been plotting a Guinness World Record attempt for the MBTA. So this includes the red line, green line, silver line, blue line, and orange line. Yeah, the silver line's included. I was bummed out too. It's a bus rapid transit. Hardly, if you want to even count it at that. But planning that out right now. I have a pretty good route planned out, and I'm just kind of finalizing some details. Guinness is they're saying you have to go do the silver line. So the application's in, so theoretically I could do it anytime and just submit evidence, but I'm thinking I'll probably do the attempt sometime in April or May. Since all the slow zones are gone and the T's working a lot better now than it was last year. So I was waiting for all the slow zones to go away before I tried to do my record attempt. Thank you, Phil Lynch. Very cool. So other than that, that's kind of it. I'm really happy that this all worked out at the end, that I got the record, and that now I hold this very niche world record for the fastest time to travel to all commuter rail stations. I promise you, for any future record attempt videos, the production quality will be better. It was my first time doing it. It was a long speed run too, so it was really hard to keep up any good filmmaking quality for 40 hours. Hope you understand. And I've never edited a video that's an hour long before, so I will do a better job next time. It was not my best edit. It was a pretty basic edit. It wasn't my best. I could have done a lot better, especially with the voiceovers in some parts. But it is what it is, and I've learned a lot from that first record attempt. Yeah, so other than the upcoming South Coast Rail and MBTA speedruns, maybe in a long-lost future, if I ever feel like it, I might try to go for Metro North and the Long Island Railroad, try and do those as fast as I can. They're much more complex networks with a very complex schedule. I'm originally from New York, so I actually have ridden on both the Metro North and LIR before, so it would be fun to do that as well. But for a future time, not happening anytime soon. But hopefully you can look forward to the MBTA speedrun coming pretty soon. But yeah, so that's it. Hopefully the next time you get one of these videos from my laptop webcam, there's a second one of these things on the wall. That's the hope. Anyway, I will see you then. Goodbye.